Hi, friends. Carissa Karowski here. Welcome to A Glow in the Dark. Today, I want to talk about cultivating joy. So, my sister actually came up with this week's theme, and at first, I wasn't sure about it because I guess she said this in her video too. I don't know that I'm a super joyful person. I definitely used to be, when I was a kid, for sure, and maybe even more as a teenager. But I definitely have had some life happen to me, and it has, sadly, I guess, made me not as joyful as I would probably like to be. There are definitely people out there in the world that wake up and um, feel happy enough to sing to the birds like Cinderella. And I mean, I've actually talked to people who legitimately, like, they're just happy. They have a nice headspace and they don't really have a lot of dark thoughts. And yeah, I don't know what that's like. I wish I did. It sounds great. But here we are. You can only do you, right? So, with this topic that Casey introduced, I was really trying to think about how um, what joy is like in my life. Excuse me. And this idea of cultivation came to me because I remember hearing somewhere down the road that you have to cultivate your mind like a garden. And at the time, I don't remember if I heard this from a book or speaker, or I really don't remember. But at the time, I remember thinking it was kind of weird. I couldn't relate to it because I felt really out of control with my thoughts and my life. But where I am now, I find it really, really pertinent. And the reason is that cultivation is a word that implies effort, a word that implies intention. When you cultivate something, you are caring for it, and you're actively removing things that don't serve you. So I really do find this relevant. The mind is like a garden, and back in my early days of mental illness, the garden of my mind was very wild and unkempt, and there were a lot of dead things in it, and not a lot of sunshine coming through the clouds. But as I learned different mental techniques and worked every day on culling those dead plants, I now have a mind that is a lot more functional, and I do find spots of joy here and there. So, relating this specifically to joy, when you put an intention out there, or you actually actively work to cultivate joy, you will find, I think, more of those little moments. Um, it may not be that you just always are living in ecstasy, but you can put forth an effort to create joy in your life. So, how I like to do that is focusing on little things. And for me, this can be anything from taking, when I take a break and go outside, just kind of looking at leaves on the trees, or um, changing things that bother me to things that are positive. For example, when I find my daughter's toys on the floor, my immediate thought is always anger and frustration. And then if I take a second to think about it, I remind myself that that is one of those things that you would miss most if your child was gone. Um, so I do make an effort to take things that I'm frustrated and examine them and turn them into something that maybe isn't so bad. All of that takes effort. All of this all of these things that we think about and changing your thoughts on things, this takes effort. And that's why I like that word cultivation, because your mind goes through a natural pruning process. If you've ever taken anatomy and physiology, or just taken some time to learn about the mind, our brain has these neural pathways. And when you aren't using something, this is where the phrase use it or lose it comes from. When you're not using something like a language, or reading music, or riding a bike, or whatever, your brain literally culls or prunes that neural pathway to make room for something else. And it's one of the beautiful things about our brains is that it tries to be as efficient as possible. So if there's something that you're not using, your brain says, well, you don't really need that anymore, so let's get rid of it. And it doesn't mean that's permanent. I can still read music, but I can't play as well as I used to. Just like you can probably still ride a bike, you just might not be able to do it as well as you did before, because your brain has kind of gotten rid of some of those pathways, and they need to be reforged again. So this is, a big reason why mental health takes a lot of effort, and why, if you're not a naturally joyful person, you might have to actually work at it, which seems kind of silly. I think we always feel like we're just someday going to be happy. Someday down the road, something will happen that makes us happy. I'll get enough. I'll get enough plastic crap to make me happy. I'll get enough paper to make me happy. I'll get enough. I mean, money by paper. I'll get enough this or that, or be in the right job, or blah 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 blah. We're always looking for that next thing that is going to make us happy, instead of each day actively working on things that do so. So another way that I work to cultivate things is in that daily grind, I guess. I can find joy by even eliminating things that I'm not happy about. So when I go through and find things to donate, you might not immediately think of that as a joyful activity, but it makes me feel really good that I am doing something meaningful for my life. Or when I already gave examples of some small things, but I just thought of this, so I have to interject. I'm down here in our basement, because this is where I work right now. On my windowsill, I have noticed that there are all these little spiders. And I'm not a huge fan of spiders, but I couldn't help admiring how interesting it was, because I wasn't sure if they were babies or if they were just little, but they're just crawling all over the window. And I know that sounds gross, but it's just so fascinating to watch them work. They're clearly building some sort of web, or maybe trying to find food, and they're just busy, 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 like running around on the window. Maybe it doesn't bother me because it's outside the window. They're not like really next to me. But it's a moment like that where, instead of going, ew, spiders, you can just take time to be I'm sorry, my mind just went blank. Mindful. You can take time to be mindful, and without judgment, watch those little spiders and just see what they're up to. And when we take moments like that during the day, it can be really peaceful and create more of that sense of joy in our lives. So there was my little example. I should have said it when I was talking about the small things, but I'm sorry, my mind is very random. Anyway, so going back to cultivating and pruning out some of the negative things can bring joy into your life. And so I've really been noticing that I'm on this path of minimalism and decluttering, and really focusing on what what do I actually like in life? What actually brings me joy? And this is the reason I have mentioned this, I think, a few times, that I ditched Facebook. Not completely, I won't lie. I still use the glow in the dark page, and I go in the glow in the dark tribe, which is a group that I have. But I don't look at my feed, and I've unfriended every single person on there. I'm purely using it for podcast related stuff, and it's one of the best decisions I've made. So in that way, you're not really quantifying like, oh, it makes me so joyful to not be on Facebook. Or maybe you do that activity and you don't think, oh, this is great, because it's actually kind of hard and it sucks. But when I go back and review what it was like being on Facebook, it's just a constant reminder that it was not bringing me joy. It was not making my life better. And therefore, ditching it has been something that has brought more quality and more joy into my life. So that's probably what I would say would be a good action step if you're wanting to take something away from this video, or rather act on something in this video. Examine those areas of your life where you're not getting joy. Look at your social media, look at your belongings, look at your money, or your health, and don't get overwhelmed though, because I know I tend to think I'm failing in everything. So just take one thing that's really just not giving you value, not bringing you joy in life, and see how you can change that, or eliminate it, or turn it into something positive that does impact your life in a good way. So I'm going to end it there. I think that's about all I have to say on that topic. And I will see you next time, continuing this topic of joy. Thank you so much for joining us at A Glow in the Dark podcast. And as always, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, leave us a comment below. Give us a like if you're enjoying the content. And again, as always, we are highly open to topic ideas, or if there's something you want us to address, please let us know. Thank you and have a wonderful day.